Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. This is Researcher in the Spotlight. This is a series of interviews organized by the Executive Committee of Early Career Researchers of International Astronomical Union. And what we're hoping to achieve through this series of interviews is to put the spotlight on the career and the scientific journeys of some astronomers and usually, I would say more often than not, try to put the spotlight on the challenges and difficulties of big CVs, which are a little bit like hidden in our field, we believe. So yeah, like hopefully this would be like not only entertaining, but also have some impact on your research journey as well, especially for early career researchers from people who have experienced a lot of experience in this field, etc. So I'm one of the two co-chairs of this executive committee, and I have the pleasure of hosting Dr. Marcella Marconi, who is the first female director of Napoli Capodimonte INAF Institute. And yeah, like so this is going to be a Q&A. Thank you for being here, Dr. Marconi. And I think like I would be like addressing you as Marcella if you're like comfortable with that. Like
Yes,
like throughout like all
absolutely.
these years. Yeah, like we've been like calling you.
Marcella is perfect.
No, thank you so much. So, okay, so like my first question for you is how was your day? Like usually how does your day look like? Like do you have a routine or something, or how does your astronomical life on a daily basis looks like?
Well, it is quite varied lately because I started a number of institutional tasks, so I'm traveling a lot. In the past, it was quieter. It was more a life of coming to office, looking at the literature, trying to go on with job, writing papers, preparing fund proposals, and so on. And now I travel a lot, really. So it is
Right, sure.
more focused on online meeting, in-presence meeting, committee, and so on. So yes, it is different because the way of doing research has been changing during my
Mm.
career life, and also because after pandemic we all changed our way of working. So there are so many online meetings and so many new ideas to communicate our job and to try to make collaborations wider and more synergic with other teams and so on. So I think I'm living a transformation in my way of working.
Yeah, right. Okay. That's like very interesting to hear. Okay, so let's start from the beginning of the history. So do you want to like give us a background of your childhood? Like how did it look like? Like you were the quiet kid or you were like the very energetic kid? You were the Hermione Granger of the class, like you were like very impressive or yeah, like how was it? Like you were like how do
Yes,
you describe yourself as a child?
I was very quiet, really very quiet, and but I was fascinated by math, by numbers.
Right.
My
Oh,
father, in particular, is he is a retired engineer, a 92 an old man. But at the time, he was an active engineer and used to play with me with numbers since I was really young. And so it was a game for me. So
right.
that when at school I started studying math more seriously, it became my preferred subject quite
Mhm.
fast. And then I used to leave math as the last of my homeworks because for me it was not a homework, it was a game.
Something enjoyable.
So
Yeah, it was a hobby.
for me, it's always difficult to understand people when they tell me math is difficult. I would be an astronomer, but math is too difficult, even
Yeah,
in the younger generations. It is strange because math is enjoyable for me. So, and I
okay,
didn't
so like
think
let's
of,
like pause a little bit like there because I think like there are like some interesting things that like came up.
yeah.
So do you have like something to tell us about what was your first experience of experiencing numbers? Because you said like numbers were like very interesting to me. Like how did you discover numbers and like, how were you like playing with numbers? Like,
The first way was counting, obviously, counting
all right.
objects, and then we made games also with sums and Also, I don't know, when you have to count objects even in games.
Right.
So it was quite different experience, but anything was the point to start a discussion on numbers, because numbers are, are everywhere in our life. So
Yeah, right. It's
it
the
was
essence of
counting.
life. Yeah.
Counting was the first step, but then I started to count by two, by three, by four, and so it was. If it was different, and then I started also with enigmistic. I like it a lot,
All right.
and so Sudoku didn't exist at the time, but I would have appreciated it a lot.
All right.
And
But
so
then also like I mean I think like math could be like something that has like internal or like maybe like external inspiration. So like I mean I believe like kids who hate math is because of their teachers mainly, but did you find this as a very internal initiative for you? Like you
yes,
were
often
inspired
what happens in
internally.
Italian schools, for experience with my kids and my kids' friends, that there are teachers sometimes that tell that they don't like math because it is difficult and prefer to teach literature. And this is really dangerous, because
Right.
children understand that math is something different from the other topics, and you should be special to do that. And it is not the case.
No, right. I mean, for me
So,
myself, like I had like very good math teachers and all of them were like female. So I mean, for me, like the inspiration to like, I mean, enjoy math was like always like external. It was
yeah,
like I have a good teacher, then I was like interested. But yeah, like I would say like during the time that I didn't have good teachers, then I didn't like it too. So yeah, like,
yeah,
yeah, but it is like
yeah.
interesting to hear this.
Yes, it is a significant part of our growth and of our passions is related to what teachers transmit us. And it's really important to find good teachers, and also to find teachers that help you to find what you like,
All right, true.
rather than what you are able to do, what you like
Right.
first, and then with this. You can
Right.
have gifts, obviously, but generally, if you like something very much, you can try to do that, and
All right. Of course,
nothing
you know,
should prevent
absolutely.
it.
No, true. So you also like mentioned your dad. So do you think like your inspirational figure and the person who encouraged you to join a scientific discipline was your father? Or no, like was it a teacher? Was it a book or like something that
The
inspired
first one was my father, because
you? Right.
he influenced me at the beginning. And then I had good teachers. Yes, I had good teachers in math and science in both middle school and high school, definitely. But I think the first years are fundamental, because sometimes, even if you find good teachers later, if you have convinced yourself that math is not for you, sometimes you do not choose a
Right.
STEM subject, because you convince yourself that is something it is not affordable. And so I think the first years and primary school are fundamental.
Okay, nice. So let's talk about astronomy. So how were you convinced that you should be an astronomer? So like what was the beginning point? And then like what was your inspiration? Like were you into sci-fi or like what was the thing that like really drove you into this field and you thought like this is your career?
Yes, when I was a child, I didn't think of becoming an astronomer, so I wanted to be a teacher or something like that. And later, during the middle school, I think the key experience that triggered my curiosity for the sky was a visit to a planetarium.
All right.
This was located in Viareggio, that is a town close to Pisa, where I was born and where I was studying. And there was this nice planetarium. It was a very new experience for me, because nobody had never talked to me of studying the sky
Right.
before. And so they organized this school trip to planetarium. I was impressed by the appeal of the topics that were explained to us, and also the appearance of the sky and constellations, stellar motion, representation. They were so new things to me. And maybe in that moment, I realized that my life could not be limited to explore what was on the earth. I had the clear sensation that I would have missed something really important without also studying the universe. And so I think that was the moment that triggered curiosity for this kind of studies, even if at that stage I didn't plan to become an astronomer yet. This happened later. This happened at the end of the high school.
No, right, because like I mean, there's like usually there's a moment I think that is like very common for all of us that we feel that big connection that we're connected to something that's like much bigger than us, and then like that is the real motivation that like pushes us forward and all that, because like pursuing a career in astronomy is like very challenging. I would say like I mean you have to like be a very tough person, like you have to have like also a very strong personality in my opinion. So it's
Yeah.
not easy at all to like choose this as your actual like discipline career, etc., and build a life around it. But what was the turning point? So like I mean when you started your PhD, because I feel like that is the phase that you're like very sure that you want to do this like very difficult thing and then like make a decision. Then like I mean, that's like basically the very first step is pursuing a PhD. So how were you convinced that you're the right person to like pursue this career? And then what was the motive?
Yes, when I won the PhD in astronomy in Florence, this was an important point toward my convincement that I would have worked in the astronomical context. But I think that a crucial step was when I started studying astrophysics at university before the PhD, because I attended the Stellar Evolution course by Professor Vittorio Castellani. That was a real fascinating course. He was extremely clever in explaining things and in fascinating students. And many of us were captured by this course in becoming
Oh, wow.
astronomers later. And so at that point, I realized that that was what I want to do in the life, and to study stellar evolution, to study stellar populations, and I decided to do anything I could do to try to do that. And he
Right.
used to say that he had never known anybody who really wanted to become an astronomer and didn't succeed. So I believed in this, and I said, yes, let's try to do. Then when I won the PhD, this was a confirmation, obviously. And I had the opportunity to meet other teachers also in other Cetri Observatory to enlarge my knowledge and my possibility of exchange with other colleagues. And so it was really an important step.
All right. Can you name some other, let's say, astrophysicists today who like also were enjoying this topic, like let's say, like presented by Professor Castellani? Like, do you know
Yes,
like some of your
I can
classmates who
mention
are
a
now your
lot.
colleagues? Yeah, right. Like maybe like
I,
many of these like people were like inspired by this like same person because yeah, this looks
so
like.
one of them is Santi Cassisi,
Oh wow. Okay.
and then Martino Romaniello, Scilla degli Innocenti, Vincenzo Ripepi, who is also my husband, and there are so many. In this moment, I'm Pier Giorgio Prada Moroni, Michele Cignoni. I think he was in time to attend the course as well, and many others that are abroad but studied in Pisa with him. And also he had also been a teacher in Rome, and he was a director in one of the directors of Terram Observatory. So many other colleagues, also Enzo Brocato, Oscar Straniero, came from his school. So
Oh wow.
yeah,
Okay. So this is one of the prominent
really many.
figures
Yeah,
like
I'm forgetting
behind the
something.
scene for many
Someone,
current astronomers.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
wow. Okay.
I think also Marco Limongi, Maurizio Salaris, I'm
Oh
just
wow.
mentioning.
Yeah,
So
like a whole community like
the
came out
school
of
is
that
that
class.
far.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, like it's
yeah.
nice. Oh well, yeah, nice. Okay, so like we're getting back to you again. So during your career, what was the turning point for you that made you an actual researcher? Like if there's like one moment that you really want to single out and say that, okay, that was the moment that I really felt like I'm ready for this to like become an astronomer and then like build not only my career, but also like, I mean, shape others' careers as well.
A crucial step was when I got the staff position in Naples, obviously at Astronomical Observatory Capodimonte. At the time, there were several young teams there. Naples was a very young environment, a growing observatory that enthusiastically approached different aspects of astronomy, entering international projects, exchanging expertises with colleagues from other institutes. It was really a period where I could learn new topics and tools, but also grow not only scientifically, but also personally. So I think that moment was really important in my decision to be an astronomer for the rest of my life, even because this was a staff position. So, but I got this staff position really with an extreme interest for the environment I had the luck to be in at the time.
Would you like to dive a little bit like deeper into this topic that you're saying like the environment was very young? So do you think like what was the impact of that on your career? Like did you have more opportunities to do scientific research because the environment was ready to capture that like at that time? Or how do you think like it would have been different if you were in an older environment that was like way more
Yes.
evolved?
You see, I was coming from Pisa University that had a very small team of astrophysicists, and it was in the context of other subjects such as nuclear physics and matter physics and so on. And astrophysics was really small. So you had not the opportunity to attend seminars, to meet new colleagues, to invite guests, to have funds to go somewhere. Whereas in an observatory that was in an expansion phase with so many new groups and young people who wanted to become staff or make their own career, there were another kind of vitality. And so people had opportunities that in other places couldn't have. And so this was important for me because I benefited from the general enthusiasm of the environment, mostly related to the fact that these teams were young, but were also expanding thanks
Mhm.
to few illuminated senior guiding them. So it
Right.
was really
Did you have like also an inspiring figure in this environment as well, who was like a senior scientist, but then was guiding anyone like who was
yeah.
like working in this environment and creating that environment for all of you to work comfortably?
Thank you for this question. I would like to mention Filippina Caputo, who
Right.
was a stellar astrophysicist. She passed away some months ago, unfortunately.
Right.
And she was a director of research at the Capodimonte Observatory at the time. Then she moved to Rome. And
Mhm.
she led my first research projects in Capodimonte. And she was extremely important for my growth because she believed in women's capability to do astrophysics, to lead projects irrespective of their parallel familiar duties, prejudices, limitations imposed by familiar or social environments. And also, she taught me to be self confident and always to believe in the new generations, to find good qualities in any new student, any young researchers, to think of their future as our future and also as the future of our planet. So I think she was very important.
Oh, this is a very beautiful concept. Yeah, like I mean, especially like because we are working in a very competitive environment, I think like this really like touched
Yeah,
my heart too. So yeah, like
yes,
I get it when you're like saying that, oh yeah, like I had like also personal growth in this environment. Yeah, like and then
yeah.
having a model, I believe is always very important. So like, is there like a story that you would like to recount for us, like when you were like working in this environment, something that you think could be like inspirational for the younger generation, like while you were there, or like and maybe like a very difficult moment that was like handled properly or
Any specific episode you mean, or in general?
right
Any
something that
specific?
something
I
that you would
would.
like to share with us. I don't know.
I remember that when I started, we were all young women,
Right.
and we had this difficult decision or starting to build a family in a period where we were all also starting to try working as astronomers. So maybe in a different environment without Filipina at the time, I don't think it would have been as easy as it was. because she always told us that nothing could influence our personal life. If she used to say, when men have kids, have children, nobody asks them why they had kids or they had children, whereas women always are pressed with these questions. Do you also have a family? Do you also have children? How do you balance the two spheres? And she said that it is not true. You are your own, you have your own competence, your own knowledge, your own skills, and you are the same person if you create a family. So nothing changed. And there are, and she was very active in trying to avoid any kind of limitations for women who were. I had my first. I obtained a staff position when I was pregnant of my first son.
Oh,
And so this demonstrates that there was a sensitivity to this kind of problems. And she was really fundamental in Capodimonte, and not only because later in Rome continued to keep this attitude towards any kind of discriminations toward young women, because the age of when women start to become staff members coincide more or less with the ages when they create families. So um, it was really important to have such a mentor who was not against mixing familiar problems with it, as some men colleagues at the time were, because there were also men colleagues who used to say, if you want to be an astronomer, you won't have children, or it's better if you do not marry. Also
oh, true.
sentences like
Right.
that. Yes,
Right.
I hear myself, so I know that there were. And she was extremely, she was a sensitive woman, and also she realized that the success in the work was also related to personal self-confidence, personal, I don't know, she realized that a person is a person globally, not only in a specific aspect. So I think
This
this
is a
was
very
very important.
important point, right? Because like even now for female scientists, we get this type of command that if you're having a child, are you a serious researcher? Like, do you like care about your career or not? And then, yeah, like, was this necessary for you to like start a family, like a serious family, especially when you're at the height of your career and you need to like push forward, etc. Like, how can you like create this
Yeah.
work-life balance? And like, especially like for women, I think like there's a lot of prejudice still. And this director, like, can I ask, like, how many years back was this? Like, when you were
This was 2000, so
2000, so 25 years back.
25 years ago.
Oh, wow. And then, like, how do you basically like compare the challenges that you had as a director in the observatory compared to her time? Do you think
The
like the,
challenge as a director. Oh,
well,
this was a formative experience.
right.
At the beginning, it was not easy for several reasons, because I had to change my perspective totally, from working, leading, coordinating a small team, to leading an observatory with a large number of projects, teams, with an administrative and technical component, with outreach activities, openings to school and the general public, general problems you can have in any kind of old ancient building. So this was completely new.
Right.
And secondly, I also felt it was not easy for some of the male colleagues to deal with a female director.
Oh, wow.
Also because in most cases I was younger than them. So
Right, true.
they had
Absolutely.
to get used to such a relationship, and they had to, this took some time. Then
Oh, wow.
everything was okay, but the beginning I perceived that there were some kind of not completely, so they had to get used to that.
Right. So like there was a
And
power imbalance, or like, I mean, how would you like put it into words? Like, I mean, you were in an uncomfortable situation, or like, I mean, how did you like overcome these challenges? Because I mean, it's not easy.
they had to realize that I was a director exactly like my male colleagues had been in the previous years. So I had the
Right.
same kind of responsibilities and authority. And so finally they accepted it. But at the beginning, it was not easy for them. I perceived this in some, in a few colleagues, not many, because most of them were nice from the beginning, but some of them, it was a change that after 200 years of male colleagues as directors,
Yeah, right. You were like finally
it could be
understood.
expected. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, right. But this is why it is like super inspiring, because I mean, you were there and then like you could do a very good job, and then like you could show everyone that like, oh yeah, like this is a position that can be held by a woman, and then you can also do an excellent job. So this is why I think like this is the main subject of this like talk, that oh yeah, like I mean, you can be a person, like as you were saying, like you can have a very like flourishing personal life, you can be a successful researcher, and you can also be a director even, because like why not? I mean, there are like people who before you have done this. So like I mean, this is like inspiring for our next generation, that yes, like this
Yeah,
is something that
this
has been
was
done.
a challenging, also rewarding experience, and in particular, the success of the teams were important signatures of the goodness of what I was doing, but also the expansion of teams with new entry was one of the most rewarding milestones in my directorship. I was really proud of that.
I
And
think you
so
also like need a lot of confidence to like, I mean, not only like accept the position, but also remain in the position. So like, how do you like evaluate that? Like, I mean, what was your source of confidence? Like, who like inspired you also? Like, was this like Filipina always on your mind, that, oh yeah, like I had like someone who were like before me has done this job, and then like I have seen people in this position before, so this is not impossible? Or was there someone who was like accompanying you during this period? Because like it was not
yes.
always easy.
I think that the support of colleagues, of many colleagues, was really important to me. I received confirmation during my directorship, and also we have two terms of directorship. So after the first term, I was appreciated by colleagues, and so this was reported to me by the committee who visited us. And so this obviously increased my awareness of what I was doing, and obviously we always make mistakes, but at least I was generally confident that I was going into the right direction.
Right. So I would say like between like Filipinas time to your time, like there was a 25 years gap. Like what are the changes that you've seen in this time, like for female astronomers generally speaking? And yeah, like how do you evaluate your performance like against like, I mean, if you were a director like 25 years ago, do you think like you had more challenges compared to today?
I think I wouldn't have become director 25 years ago, honestly.
Okay, that's a very like brutally honest answer. Okay.
No,
Oh,
because
yes.
the mentality was completely different,
Well,
and much less women were able to make significant career steps, to be
right,
involved in institutional duties. Because for me, it was also fundamental before the directorship, the nomination into I was elected a member of the Scientific Council of INAF.
right,
And this was a very important experience to me because even if Capodimonte is an observatory with so many topics, team,
sure.
different activities, but it is one observatory. Instead, working in the scientific committee enlarged my views, although also with other colleagues in different parts of Italy. And I had the opportunity to try to see science, astronomy in a more general context, and to see what could be the opportunities of growth for future generations and so on. So this enlarged my view a lot. And so when I decided to apply for directorship, these 2 years in the Scientific Council were very useful to me in the
Right.
idea I made of my directorship in the subsequent years. And so this is an important aspect that I have to acknowledge. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I would say like you're in, let's say like influential, like inspiring woman in science, definitely. So I mean, one part is that like always like our generation can like look at you and see like, okay, like someone been there who has like all of these achievements, etc. But then like at the other part, like where you also as a woman in science try to actively change the environment and also like open venues for female researchers around you to have like a better career or just like, I mean, give them like advice during their early days of getting involved in research, etc. Like, were you like in that kind of environment as well? Or you think like we should basically just treat everyone horizontally? Like, we should say, like, no, like men and women, like, they're always like, I mean, working together. And then like, there's like basically like no prejudice against like any minority or etc. Like, how was your approach to this problem?
I try to encourage women in their activities, and also when someone asked me to candidate for some position, I always encourage them. I encourage everybody, both female and men, because I believe that Capodimonte need to be represented broadly in the INAF context and not only. So whenever someone asked me, may I, if I thought it was worth, I suggested them to apply, to go on, and many of them obtained a position in several institutional contexts within INAF. So I was happy of that, and as I for the young women, young colleagues I had the luck to work with, I always told them that at a certain point of life, you can have a family, you can have children, you can invest your time in something that is fundamental for our life, for our planet, for the future of the human kind. But this does not mean that you stop working. On the contrary, I think that sometimes when you become a mother, you change your way of working, but it can also become more efficient because you are forced to
Right.
do things in a shorter time, but maybe quality increases. So and I also think that it is very important that for children, a mother is satisfied and self-confident. So why stopping going to meetings if you feel to do? But if you do not feel, don't feel guilty for that. It is completely normal. You can stay home with your children, nothing changed. You will spend your time writing a paper rather than presenting a talk, but everything is important in your career. You will go to meetings later. I myself stopped going to meetings for several years because I had two kids, I had no parents close to me. So for several years, I didn't go or just for a few days, and then I compensated in the subsequent years. So I
Right.
think that uh, making research today is such a variety of tools, methods, procedures that you can choose according to the moment what makes you feel better. And this is the only thing to think of because if you feel well, you work well.
Right, true. This is absolutely true because usually like mentors, like the best mentors that I've had, like they always say like if you're happier, you're always gonna do a better job at work.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think like if you're like lacking somewhere, then it is like always haunting you, like from perspective that yes, like I mean, I am like maybe like fulfilled at my work, but then like personally speaking, I don't have any life. So like I feel empty like all the time. So yeah, like and also like this point that you mentioned is like something very important that I think it doesn't like it's not brought up like as many times as it should. And that is like one thing that I hear from like female scientists who are moms, and they usually say that, yeah, like after giving birth, like I have become way more efficient. And I think like
Yeah,
this is
that's
something
true.
that we don't have faith in right now. And it should be like repeated and repeated again to just echo in this atmosphere that being a mom is not something that would reduce you as a scientist. But unfortunately, like I don't see this message like going through like oftentimes. So, because I mean, thank you so much for bringing this up. Like this is a very
Yes, and it is not only for children because often women are also asked to assist parents or to assist
right.
ill relatives or so on. So this applies to any kind of sphere in our life, and both female and male colleagues should be should feel free to do the
Right.
things without any limitations, any kind of sense of guilty for not working so many hours as before, because there are phases of our life that are different and we have to adapt our
Sure.
own to them.
Right. So while we're like on the topic of gender, so do you have any vision for female scientists, especially in our field? Like, what do you love to see, let's say, like 20 years from now for female astronomers? Like, if there was something that was going to change, like what would be that one thing or one or two things that you would change if you had the control of the situation?
I would like a complete balance, obviously, and I would also like not to have reserved fraction of um, institutional roles reserved to women, because when you reserve something, this means that you are keeping feeling these are a different path. Instead,
Right.
I think that the value of the person should be the only criterion.
Right.
And I really dream a world where there is no need to think of reserved fractions of any kind of duties. So when I hear that in a committee you need to find a woman member, it is really disturbing to me.
Right. True. It
Why
absolutely.
one? First of all, why one?
Right. That's the magic number, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, there's other.
And then I think it doesn't matter. You have to look at the value of persons, and independent of the gender, you have to choose the best ones. And in an ideal world, balance is achieved, so there is no need to look at the specific gender.
Right. And I think like one of the like last questions that we have like about the gender is that I mean you're very successful and you were like also like in many leadership positions, but were there opportunities that you think you lost just because of your gender?
Not so. I wouldn't say that. I really achieved what I wanted to achieve in my life, because, as I was saying before, there were the first years of my kids I didn't travel,
Right.
and maybe in some occasions I was not, let's say, invited to give a talk because people thought I was busy with children. This could have been happened. I'm pretty sure
Right.
this happened. And this is not, I won't say, it can be read as an attention to me, but it can also be read as something excluding me a priori. So maybe in some occasions I didn't decide not to go, but someone else decided for me. I would have decided
Oh,
not to go,
okay.
by sure,
Right.
but I think this is the only aspect I remember that a bit disturbed me. For the rest, I think that I achieved what I wanted to achieve.
Right. I mean, that is like excellent to hear. So yeah, okay, nice. I also like wanted to ask you like something more personal. I mean, that you can also like skip this question, like if you don't feel comfortable with this. Are there like any values or principles at work that you always hold on to and you never skip? Like, I mean, no matter what. Like, is there like a very strong sense of like ethical value that you have and you think like is very important in doing research generally?
Honesty, you have to be an honest person. You have to try to be prepared in your field. This is the first condition. So the first thing is to study. And if you are not prepared, you are not mm, it is difficult for you to apply for positions, to try to present your results. You need to study first. You need to be
Right.
prepared. So the knowledge and deep knowledge is the first step. So I always suggest students to do that. And then occasions are important to grow scientifically, to grow personally. And I think that when you enter a project and you are a prepared person, then the leading roles come out quite naturally, because you are able to contribute, because you're able to to give something that nobody else can give in your specific field. And so you are an important part of the project. And so leading roles can come out, not always, but are favorite. And so I think it is important to start from the study, to start from the preparation. And this is a very fundamental starting point. Then you need to have communication capabilities. And today this is maybe more important than it was 25 years ago. 25 years ago, the way of working was very different. There were these small teams, there were individuals also preparing proposals, computing models, then publishing, then presenting results, and that was. Today, you have to enter this huge scientific collaboration. Sometimes you feel just a number, but they are fundamental because you need to demonstrate that you are part of the future of the astrophysical world. And if you do not enter these collaborations, you will not be in the future. So there is also a number of possibilities as small teams, but almost any young scientist try to enter scientific collaboration, big scientific collaboration. And then today, communication capabilities are extremely important, almost as important as technological and scientific skills, because you need to interact with people around the world. You need to create synergy with other teams. You need to try to contribute to new ideas. And so the way of working has changed. And myself have experienced changes during my career in the way astronomer work is made.
Right, true. I mean, also like when we're on this topic, is there any type of advice that you like to give to young researchers today? Do you think like there's like something very important that we are like missing, or like something that you want to deliver to everyone? I don't know, like for male or
Well,
female scientists, like separately, but I mean, generally speaking.
I think it's important to be perseverant because the
Oh,
first
yeah,
thing,
of course.
perseverance is
It's
the
a lot
first
about
thing.
that.
Yes,
Right.
to try to apply for as many opportunities as possible, to be prepared, to try to create to enter in contact with other teams when the occasions present, to be honest in their own work, not to change too easily teams, or but at the same time try to create synergies, and also have some mentors, so identify typical figures that could, or understand what you would become, you would like to become in 10 years maybe, and work to become that person. This is important, to have some kind of model, real
Right.
or imaginary, but to have some kind of model and try to become that model with efforts, daily efforts, and
Also, getting back to you,
research
like, did
activities.
you also have this role model who you wanted to be as, like, let's say, like in the future, or like, were you like seeing yourself as the Marcella Marconi that you're today, like 10 years back? Or like, I mean, when did you like start having this picture of you, like the very successful Marcella? Like, what was the beginning point? Like the first moment that you saw yourself as, oh, I'm a very capable person. So like, I think like I can reach this point. Or like, was there like never this type of
I think
picture?
Filippina Caputo was partially a model to me, especially in the
Mhm.
first years here in Capodimonte. I really admired her, uh, in particular for her way of making us live in a competitive world, that in a way that was not competitive when working with her. She was able to make us feel not in competition, even if indeed we were, because when you have an application
True.
and everybody apply,
Right, true.
we compete.
Right.
But she was able to tell us, don't worry, this is just an occasion, there will be other occasion in the future. The important things you remain in the context. So maybe there will be, and this was really important because even in a team, when you have several young researchers in the same team, if they compete against each other, it is not a good thing. People
Right, sure.
should feel as a team and feel that you can be the first, you can be the second, you can be the third, but there is a group who appreciate your job and wish you will enter the system. So you need to feel the support. And what I would like to be, I don't know if I managed to do, is to make my colleagues, and when I was a director, or in general, the colleagues in the observatory, the young colleagues in the observatory, to make them supported by me personally first, and for what I was able to do also with the resources that I could decide. So I think that feeling supported is extremely important in any
Right,
aspect of life,
sure.
and in an astronomical career that can be quite long,
Sure.
unfortunately. uh, it can make the difference between people who insist and finally achieve their goal, and people that, even if they are very clever, at a certain point decide to give up. So I think it's important to make them felt supported.
No, of course, like I think like leadership really defines like how certain astronomers operate in our field. Like I think like leadership roles, I mean, if you're a bad leader or if you're a good leader, I mean, it really defines the future of the institute that you're like working in. I think like this is something that usually doesn't get that much credit that it should. But I think like leadership roles in astronomy, especially like really define like how that observatory would be shaped, who's going to work in that observatory, etc. And I feel like this should be like maybe like put more on the spotlight, like even, but yeah, like I mean, thank you for bringing this up also. Um, okay, so I think like my last question is that like if you wanted to give your younger self an advice when you were in a difficult situation, what that advice could be.
But maybe I would have changed only one thing. I would have spent more time abroad because I only spent short periods abroad. I was quite lucky because I obtained a position quite soon. This was a good thing, but maybe a longer period abroad would have been important to me. And secondly, maybe think less to what people think and work more,
Generally,
because
right.
at the end, what's matter are only facts
Right.
and results. So this
True.
is just to say that someone we are worried about the opinion of colleagues or friends or so on, or family, and in the end, if you work well, results arrive, and nobody can tell anything.
That's a great advice, especially like because we're in a very competitive environment. So we're like always viewed like against everyone else, and we're always like competing and yeah,
Mm.
stuff like
Yeah.
this. So I think like this is very important to not to give so much weight on what people think about us and how they see us, rather than are we like happy in our skin, or is this like going well for us? Like are we feeling fulfilled, etc. Like are we like liking our career, etc. I think yeah, like that's a very good advice. So thank you so much. I think we're finishing this interview here. Now, there is going to be like 10 minutes of questions. So if anyone has any questions, like you can write in the chat or you can directly unmute yourself and ask a question. Okay, Sushmita, please.
Hi, Marcella. Thank you so very much for the very inspiring talk. I felt inspired, motivated, all of that. And the journey
Thank
is
you.
also very impressive. So, we never had the occasion to really speak personally, like how your father inspired you and so on. So, all of that backstory is also very inspiring. So, I had a question. What's your stand on that one big break that people usually get early on in their career? So, usually, if somebody wins a very important grant or fellowship and the CV is far easier versus somebody who might not have had an early break. and then consistent small steps along the way. What's your stand among the like between the two?
So to be sure I have understood your questions. What is my position with respect to someone who who wants quite early an important position, even if the career is not so strong, with respect to someone who take longer?
Yes.
Well, you have to distinguish, obviously, and this is part also of committee activities. When in a committee, you look at hundreds of CVs, as someone happened to me as well. You can distinguish various types of CVs, and I think it is important to understand the context, because not all the astrophysical contexts are the same. There are fields where it is easier to publish, where it is easier to publish on high impact journals, and also to get important results at an early career. And there are fields where you need to make a more hidden work, maybe, but this does not mean that the quality of the person is different. So there are several aspects that have to be taken into account, and people can emerge in different way, in my opinion. So there is not one single way. You do not need to win an European fellow to be considered at the level of becoming a researcher. You can become a researcher even if you have published a lot of paper with a small number of authors, but your contribution is crucial because there is a group around you that is working an important it's given important contribution to the advancement of our knowledge. So, or there can be other groups that are more technological, and so they work more on instrument building, and so they have no time to publish or present results, but they contributed to the building of an instrument that will change astronomy. So I think there is not a single way to look at the CV.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? We still have like 5 minutes.
May I, if it's okay?
Yeah.
Like, if somebody
I don't know
else
if I
wants
have
to-
understood. I don't know if I have understood your question. If you want to go deeper, we
No,
can.
no, 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 no. I had another question. So, say after you had your kids, you said that you decided not to attend conferences so much and so on. Did you feel like, say, not just attending conferences, but say your work output, does it take a bit of time to get over that, to get back into that inertia? Did you ever feel like it might have, no?
The only limitation was going to conferences, really, because I was able to publish a lot, even during the years of when my children were very young. And so the publication rate didn't change. If I look at my publication rate, those years were not years of decrease in the number or quality of publications. I was able to, I made some personal sacrifices, not sleeping sometime in the night to finish some work, but this is my choice. And even if I had some break in my publication list, this shouldn't have mattered a lot, I think, because what is important is then to re-enter into the system, to keep contact, not to leave completely. And we have examples of young mothers, even in this chat, that are doing that quite well. So I think it is possible. And today with these remote connections, and it is possible to keep closer than it was in the past. In the past, if you stayed at home longer, it could be a limitation. But today we all work connected, so it is easier. Yes, obviously you need support at home. You need, this is the problem should not be a problem of the astronomical community. The problem is of the young mothers who have their own to manage their life in the different spheres. But it is not a matter of supervisors or directors or colleagues. The young mother knows how to do in that moment to give the correct priority to anything, and any choice should not be a limitation for their future. So I think this is the important thing. And as I was saying, you have to choose what make you feel best in that moment, because a young mother is doing something that is exceptionally important for us. And so even astronomy could wait. If the young mother feels to keep being connected to the activity at the same level, she can. And nobody has to tell anything on one side and on the other. But there should be any limitation in this respect. So we know that there are several young mothers and maybe several young fathers, only that for several young fathers, nobody cares about their balance. Whereas when you become a mother, we have to demonstrate something more.
So, hey, maybe I can ask one quick again. So my question is, I feel like unlike the male counterparts at our institutes, the women take on much more co-curricular activities like being on several committees and so on. It's almost like we want to prove that we can do it all, whereas the male colleagues don't really feel as much pressure. Was it something that you encountered?
So there is this feeling to try to demonstrate something more. Yes, I agree with you. And unfortunately, this does not reflect yet into a major involvement in leadership roles. So we assist at an increasing number of women involved in astrophysics research. And at the moment, if I think at Italian National Institute of Astrophysics, we have about 40% of women in the astronomical activities. But if we look at the leadership roles, the percentage decrease down to 25% or less. So there is a gap that is more or less, unfortunately, constant in the last few years. That means that there is some resistance in the system to favor the career steps of women. This is maybe decreasing with the last few competition, the last few calls we had in Italy. I don't know. We have to. I should have repeated the counting, but in any case, I think that there are some limitations due also to self-limitations. Sometimes women prefer not. It is true what you say that they need to demonstrate something more, but sometimes they do not. How to say? They don't feel ready to apply for certain positions, whereas it is not true. They could do that. So I think that women should be aware of their value more than they are, and try to apply even for positions they do not feel adequate to them, because they are adequate to them as well.
Thank you.
So I think we're closing the session here. And yeah, like, thank you so much for your presence, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation.
Thanks to you. It was really a very interesting experience.
Thank you.
Thanks
Also
for all the job you are doing.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, it was a pleasure. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.